As we look back over the top stories of 2021 and continuing into 2022, few economic topics have garnered as much attention as the Great Resignation. According to some of the latest figures from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly 4.5 million people voluntarily left their positions in November alone. Today, we'll discuss what this means for the overall workforce and how it can affect real estate investing. Hey, House Stackers, welcome to episode 35 of the Stacking Houses podcast, where we're helping working professionals create a solid plan B, a side hustle of passive streams of income through real estate investing. I'm your host, Damon Santa Maria, and my goal for each show is to provide you with some practical and inspiring information so that you can create a solid financial plan for yourself. So to help you on your journey, I want to give you a free copy of my book entitled How to Acquire Your First 10 Investment Properties. And this book is a personal journey from me literally being broke to creating a multi-million-dollar real estate business. And to pick it up, all you have to do is go to stackinghouses.com/book. And while you're there, you can check out our blog as well as a great webinar training where I outline the step-by-step process that I took to get started in real estate. So before we get started, special shout out to Andrew Clark, who sent me over the weekend this awesome Expanding Wallet t-shirt. Andrew, thank you so much for our interview with Andrew and Expanding Wallet. Be sure to check out podcast episode 26. So as I mentioned in the introduction, there are a tidal wave of resignations that are hitting the American economy, which started in 2021 and continue into the new year. And the big question is why? I think it's important to look at some of the root causes to better understand the demographics and those industries most hard hit. So to begin, let's take a look at a few number of the key trends. Number one, the highest number of resignations are employees between the ages of 30 and 45. And according to an article in the Harvard Business Review, there is an average increase of more than 20% in this cohort between 2020 and 2021. And if we dig a little bit deeper, we can see that a lot of these employees are mid-level workers. And there are a few different reasons that I believe are contributing factors most important to this group. And the first one includes the fact that a lot of this work has shifted to, being remotely due to the pandemic. And, if employers are now requiring their employees to come back to the office, they may receive a lot of pushback. So think about it. If you've been working at home for the last year or two, and then you have to go back to that 30-minute commute each way to work, which most people hate. You have to put on nice clothes and then, dare I say, bathe. You also might have, those coworkers that you don't really care for, care to see on a daily basis. What's the advantage of going back into the office? And I know firsthand from my own personal experience that once I started working out of my own home office 20 years ago, I told myself that I would never go back to the office again. And you know what? I never did. There's just way too many conveniences of working out of your own personal house. There's no commute. I can let the dog out whenever I need, and I can also save money on coffee and lunch. And, if one of my kids are at home sick, it's much easier to take care of them from home. So another factor in evaluating these mid-level employees is perhaps that they may have delayed transitioning out of their current roles due to uncertain conditions caused by the pandemic. Perhaps with the economy picking back up, and many people getting vaccinated, many governors saying that they're not going to close their own states' economies. Maybe these employees feel more confident in transitioning to another job, perhaps a newly opened remote position, or they're simply starting their own businesses altogether. So I think the final reason that I see for the Great Resignation would be that many employees simply reach their breaking point. They're sick of dealing with unappreciative bosses, higher workloads, and the stress that's caused by unrealistic company expectations. And I know this was a major contributing factor of why I left corporate America. I was in sales, and my employer had an unrealistic sales quota that was simply a multiple of the previous year's quota without any regard to market analysis or empirical data to support the higher quota in the first place. Have you ever heard of a salesperson getting hosed on getting their commission? It happens all the time. You see, in many employer sales contracts, they stick this small little clause in that states, quote, management reserves the right to change the compensation plan at any given time for no reason at all, end quote. I almost sued a former company because they refused to pay the commission that I had rightfully earned. Now, we settled just prior to the arbitration hearing because they knew they were going to lose, but this kind of things happen all the time. And at some point, the chickens come home to roost. And I think we've now reached this point, not just in healthcare and in sales, but in a lot of different industries. So if you're currently in this position, I feel for you. This is one of the main reasons why I started Stacking Houses. I'm trying to help other hardworking folks create other options for earning a living and then I think the best way, I believe, is through prudent income producing real estate. So anyway, back to the Great Resignation, looking at, some of the different industries, it seems that the highest number of resignations are coming from the tech and healthcare industries. And I think for healthcare, it's pretty self-explanatory. Nurses, doctors, other frontline healthcare workers have been stretched thin. They have felt the incredible burden of taking care of people with COVID. This, in addition to all of the normal sicknesses and disease unrelated to the pandemic. And this hits home personally for me. My wife is a nurse, and I hear firsthand of all of the staffing and the patient challenges, the long hours, and the insufficient pay that the industry is facing, which is ultimately leading to burnout. It's no wonder folks are leaving in droves, but we need nurses and healthcare professionals. So please, if you're a healthcare professional, a nurse, a doctor, a frontline worker, please hang in there. The other major industry that we've seen an incredible amount of transitioning is in the tech industry. And I believe that there are new opportunities opening up for remote work, which means that millions of workers can now access these new roles that were previously unavailable due to geographical constraints. And, technology is truly a wonderful thing, not just for the tech industry, but for any workers utilizing technology for their own benefit. And as a real estate investor, I can leverage technology to view properties remotely. I can look at all kinds of local statistics. I can find agents and contractors remotely, and I can outsource the property management to a professional team where my properties are located. And this may come as a surprise to many people, but I've never actually been to most of my properties because technology has, in essence, allowed me to be a remote worker. 20 or 30 years ago, this would not have been the case. So take advantage of all the technological tools available to you. So the last thing I'll mention here is that in addition to the Great Resignation, there also seems to be a larger percentage of those reconfiguring their careers. And I'm looking at a work-life article on LinkedIn, and it states that a number of folks are, leaving their current positions, and they're shifting to either better positions or have become self-employed workers. And this article estimates that in the U.S. alone, roughly 500,000 Americans have become self-employed since the pandemic started. And it goes on to say that in general, employees are looking for the right pay, the right benefits, along with that work-life balance, which is becoming more and more important, not only for the typical younger millennial population, but for all employees across any age cohort. And I think this provides greater support for those of you that are really interested in diversifying your income streams through real estate investing. So if a large portion of your income now comes through passive investments, it allows you to have greater flexibility with your day job, perhaps only working part-time. And if you do have even a part-time W-2 income, this may allow you to qualify for more loans to expand your real estate investing. Because even for someone like me that's been doing this for the last 9 or 10 years, it's still pretty difficult to find banks that will lend to you without W-2 income. So in closing, I think the Great Resignation it's probably going to stay with us for the entirety of 2022 and maybe even carry on to 2023. So if you're part of this group transitioning to a new position, a new job, be careful out there. And, my thoughts are with you as you make that transition, because I know that starting a new job, a new position can be one of the most stressful points in your life. So I hope this has been helpful. I also would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to hit me up at damon@stackinghouses.com. I'd love to hear from you. And hopefully, if you are seriously considering transitioning to a real estate investor and becoming a professional, I highly encourage you to sign up for Stacking Houses Academy, where you can learn the step-by-step process that Jim and I each took to grow our multi-million-dollar businesses. And here is the best part. We've extended our holiday sale where you can get Stacking Houses Academy for 50% off the retail price of $997, which today is only $497. So Jim and I really want you to go into the new year ready to make an impact on your net worth and your cash flow. And so be sure to check that out at stackinghouses.com. And if you liked what you heard today, I would appreciate a like, a share, or a review on the platform that you're listening on. And I would appreciate you sharing this episode with a coworker, a family member, or a friend, because it really does help some of us little guys that are just getting started on our podcasting journey. And it also helps other house stackers find our great content as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I want to give you a free copy of my book entitled How to Acquire Your First 10 Investment Properties. All you have to do is go to stackinghouses.com/book, and you can download it for free, because this book is a personal journey from me literally being broke to creating my multi-million-dollar business, and I hope it'll inspire you to do the same. So check that out. And until next time, this is Damon with stackinghouses.com, and happy investing, my friends.